So as you know that we were reading about this chapter, Great Stone Face 1. So what we have read till now, that in case of Great Stone Face, that Ernest, who has turned out into a young man, he was looking towards the great work of nature, which is what was that great work of nature? It was the stone face which is made by the rocks. Was it actually a face made? No, it was not actually a face, but when you look at it from a particular angle, you will see that these stones, they have arranged themselves in a perfect shape of a face. So now, what was the prophecy about it? That one day the man whose face, who will be noblest of his deeds, he will come to the valley and he will be the actual stone face. So ultimately people were looking. So one day what happened, we have read that a man named Gathergold, whose rich was very much, he was very rich, and it would almost take 1 year to count his. He has come. People thought that he was the actual stone face, or he has the resemblance to that of stone face. But by the time what has happened, his shrewdness, Ernest was able to see the shrewdness, cleverness upon his face, and ultimately what has happened, that this Gathergold, it lost its, you can say, resemblance with that of great stone face. So people come to know, no, this is not the face which was resembling to that of, you can say, which was resembling to that of stone face. So now I'm reading from the second para. By this time, poor Mr. Gathergold, he was dead and hurt and buried. Now, by the time, because when he was ill, he has come to his native valley. But now what has happened? He was dead. Naturally, when man was dead, he was buried. His wealth, which was the body and soul of his existence. Okay. So next, afterwards, his wealth. Okay. So his wealth, which was the body and spirit of his existence, means his wealth, because it was only because, which was the reason of his existence. Body and soul of his spirit of his existence means it was the sole reason of his existence. It also disappeared before his death. Since the melting away of his gold means because he lost his wealth. It had been generally agreed that there was no great likeness, after all, between the ruined merchant and the majestic face upon the mountain. So people, they have now come to know that this man whose name was Gathergold, he did not have any resemblance with what? With that great stone face. Majestic means large. Now, it so happened that another son of the valley had become a soldier. Now, again, people were looking for a man whose face would resemble that great stone face. So now what happened? Then another son of the valley means another boy who has grown up in the valley, who has been born here in this valley. He had become a soldier, and many years before, after a great deal of hard fighting, he was now a famous commander. So now he fought for many years, he fought in many wars, and ultimately now what happened, because of his bravery, he was given the, you can say, office of commander. He was known on the battlefield by the name of Blood and Thunder. He was so skillful in battle, that he was given the name of Blood and Thunder. So what name he was given? He was given the name of Blood and Thunder. Old and tired now. Naturally, now he has grown old. He was tired. He does not have so much of, you can say, strength to fight for battles. He had lately expressed a desire to return to his native valley. So finally, now what happened? He also felt that now I should go to my native valley. The inhabitants, inhabitant means the persons who are living in this valley, like the inhabitants, his old neighbors and their grown-up children prepared to welcome the renowned commander. Renowned means famous. Okay, having who has gained, who has attained much respect. So now the people of the valley, his neighbors and everyone in the valley, now they were preparing themselves in order to welcome this great commander. It was being said that at last the likeness of the great stone face had actually appeared. So now finally people said, yes, he is also very, you can say, skillful. He is also the noblest one. Now people thought that this is the resemblance to that of great stone face. So great, therefore, was the excitement throughout the valley. Naturally, people were again very excited to see this man who was bearing a great resemblance with great stone face. Finally, people thought that now the prophecy is going to be true. And many people who had never once thought of glancing at the great stone face. Glancing means to have a look. Okay, to look at the great stone face. They now spent much time in gazing at it. Gazing means continuously looking. Okay, to have a look and to continuously look at something is the difference. Okay, so gazing at it for the sake of knowing exactly how General Blood and Thunder looked. So now the people, there was excitement among people. So those people who have never looked at that great stone face, they were also sitting in front of great stone face for hours. And they were looking at what kind of face this Blood and Thunder would have. Because for many years, people have not seen him. On the day of the general's arrival, so when this commander arrived, Ernest and all the other people of the valley, they left their work and proceeded to the spot where a great banquet had been prepared. Banquet means a large area where a feast is set up. Okay, so what is banquet? It is an area where the feast is set up. So you know in hotels there are banquet halls. Why banquet means? Banquet means where a feast is set up. Okay. So now after that, now on that day when this commander has to come, so what happened? Ernest and other people, they have gone for their work, and finally after completing their work, they proceeded to the banquet where this feast was set up. Soldiers stood on guard, flags waved, and the crowd rose. Many soldiers were standing on the road. People were waving the flags, and ultimately they were shouting, they were roaring, yes, there comes blood and thunder, there comes blood and thunder. Ernest was standing too far back to see blood and thunder's face. Ernest was not in the front row, he was standing very far away in the back crowd in order to see black and thunder's face. However, he could hear several voices. Naturally, many people were there. Many people were talking. Yes, is this the man who is resembling stone face? So he was just looking at it and he was listening to the conversation going on among people. It's the same face exactly, cried one man dancing for joy. So one man, he shouted, yes, this is the man who is resembling great stone face and he is our great stone face. Okay, so now, wonderfully like it. That's a face, replied another. Another said, yes, exactly. This is the face which is resembling great stone face. And why not? Cried a third. Third said, yes, of course, there is no doubt. He is the greatest man of this and every other age. Beyond a doubt, he said, yes, this is the great man of this age and of any other, you can say, time. And he is our great stone face, and there is no doubt in this. Ernest at last could see the general's face, and in the same glance to the side, he could also see the great stone face. If there was such a likeness as the crowd proclaimed, proclaimed means announced. Okay, what is the meaning of proclaimed? Proclaimed means announced. Proclaimed means announced. So what he thought that if there was any kind of likeness between this man, Ernest could not recognize it. See, Ernest, it means that Ernest did not have the opinion of the crowd. He has his own wisdom. Whatever people were saying, he was not blindly, you can say, following it. But what he is doing? He he is ultimately making his own opinion, right? So what we are learning from this chapter is never believe what other people say, just formulate your own opinion. Okay, so this is one quality we are learning from this chapter. So now Ernest also looked at the man whose name was Blood and Thunder, and he looked at that man from one side, and from the same side, he has the look of that great stone face. He looked at both of them in front of him. Then he came to know that there is no resemblance between Blood and Thunder and great stone face. Fear not, Ernest, said the heart. His heart said, don't worry, Ernest. As the great stone face was whispering to him, fear not, Ernest, he will come. And he felt, because he was so, you can say, associated with great stone face, what he said, don't worry. Don't feel that this is the great stone face. I think that now the great stone face, he felt that it is teaching to him, don't worry, Ernest. Don't worry, the great stone face will definitely come one day. Okay, the great stone face will definitely come one day. Okay, so it means that here in this chapter we have found two main characters, that is one was Gather Gold and the another was Blood and Thunder. Okay, so finally what he has thought, people thought that this Blood Gather Gold was the resemblance to great stone face and to him, and to Ernest again it was not the resemblance. And then what he thought that his, you can say, another soldier who has come to the valley whose name was Blood and Thunder was the resemblance, but actually that was also not the resemblance, right? So now further we are going to start with the, you can say, back exercise. Okay, so here it is given, as you can see. First is true and false. You can unmute yourself, raise up your hands so that I can unmute you who want to participate in discussion. Yes. Kristika, Rhythm, Cheshta, where are you? You are also such a good child. Okay, now let us start. Pragati, I have unmuted you twice. Now, first is write true and false. Great stone face stood near where Ernest and his mother lived. It was true or false? It stood near where Ernest and mother lived. It's yes or no? False or true?
True.
It is false.
No, ma'am.
It was not near. It was very far away. Okay, so it is false. Right? Second case. One would clearly distinguish between the features of the stone face only from a distance. Is it true or false? Is it true or false? It's true. Only from a distance one can come to true, yes. One can come to know about the features of the great stone face. Next. Ernest loved his mother and helped her in her work. True or false? It's true. He was helping his mother. True. Next. Though not very rich, Gathergold was a skillful merchant. True or false? Yes, true or false? He was a merchant in the chapter.
No, he was.
No, it means it
False.
is false. Of course, it is false because we haven't read that he was a merchant. Next is Gathergold died in poverty and neglect. Yes,
Ma'am, true.
true, because all his wealth melted means he has lost all his wealth and nobody cared for him. True, it is true. Next, the great stone face seemed to suggest that Ernest should not fear the giant. True. True. So it is true. Okay, so next afterwards coming to working with the text. Okay, so now in working with the text. Let us start. Here, first question is, what was the Great Stone Face? What was the Great Stone Face? This Great Stone
The,
Face. Yes, okay.
the great stone,
Speak.
the great stone, the great stone face was a work of nature which was formed on the perpendicular side of mountain by some immense rocks which had been thrown together so that when viewed at proper distance they resembled the features of a human face.
Very good. So what is Great Stone Face? Great Stone Face was the work of nature. Okay, first of all, what it was? The Great Stone Face was the work of nature. The rocks has arranged themselves in a perfect shape that when viewed from a particular angle, it gives the resemblance to that of a human face. And it is quite majestic stone face, and it was a majestic stone face, right? Majestic means very large, and it is only from the particular angle that when you view it, it resembles the features of a human face. So you will write down this answer. Clear? Okay, fine. Next, afterwards, what did young Ernest wish when he gazed at it? What he wished?
He wished that he could speak, for it looked so very kindly that its voice must indeed be pleasant.
How pleasant would be his voice. So young Ernest, he admired that great stone face a lot. Okay, what happened that he admired? Okay, he admired great stone face a lot, and he wished that stone face could ever speak. Okay, what he wished? He wished that stone face could ever speak, and he wished to love that man. He wished to love that man whose face was so pleasant, and how pleasant his voice would be. Okay, who resemble that face, right? How pleasant the voice of a man would be whose face would resemble that stone face. And what he wished to love that man. He wished to love that man also whose face would resemble great stone face. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Next, afterwards, the next question is, what gave, sorry, it is what was the story? Okay, am I right? Yes. What was the story attributed to the stone face?
The story attributed to the stone face was that one day a child with likenesses and physical features of the same face would be born, and he would become the greatest and the noblest man the world had ever seen.
Okay, very good. So that what was the story? The story attributed to the stone face was that one day a child with the likeness and greatness of great stone face would be born in the valley, and he would be the greatest and noblest man of all ages and of all times present in the valley. He would be the greatest and noblest of all the persons present in the valley. Clear this answer? Fine, that's fine, students. Okay, next. Next question is, what gave the people of the valley the idea that the prophecy was about to come true for the first time? Yes, what gave the people of the valley the idea that the prophecy was about to come true? Yes, it is related to gather gold, right? So what gave the people the valley? So people realized that, or people, it was the idea that the prophecy was about, yes. So you can start with the gather gold, that a young man named Gather Gold has left the valley a long time back. Okay. By the time he grew old, he turned out to be very rich. He became very rich. Finally, in his later years, when he has grown old, he thought to spend his time in his native valley, and he thought to return to his native valley. And especially in the chapter, it was mentioned a rumor spread. Okay, there was a rumor or a rumor spread that this man whose name was Gathergold, it resembled great stone face, and people thought that the prophecy has come true. What people thought that prophecy had come true. Okay, so once again I repeat what it was. As people come to know that a young man whose name was Gathergold left the valley long time back. So by the time he has grown old, he has gathered lot of wealth and he has become rich. This man thought to spend his old life and his later years of life in the valley. So what happened? He came back to the valley, and there a rumor spread in the valley that this man who has earned a lot of wealth resembles the face of that, or it bears resemblance with that great stone face, and people thought that the prophecy had come true. What people thought that prophecy had come true. Okay, that's fine. Clear, students? Please let me know, is it right or not? Put your thumbs up. Okay, fine, right. Next, did Ernest see in Gathergold the likeness of the stone face? Ernest saw this likeness? No, because he had formulated his own opinion, right? So Ernest did not see any likeness of the great stone face in Gathergold. He did not see any resemblance. So the second part is, who did he confide in and how was he proved right? Confide in means to have complete faith. Whom he confided?
He confided in the great stone face.
Yes, he confided in the great stone face. So he confided in the great stone face. And how was he proved right?
After Gathergold's death, as his wealth and gold had already disappeared, it was generally agreed that Gathergold had no resemblance with the great stone face.
Yes. So he confided in the great stone face, as after Gathergold's death, his wealth also disappeared, or his wealth melted away. Okay. And people also come to know that this man did not bear any resemblance with that great stone face, and Ernest was also proved right, as he was also able to see the shrewdness on his face. Okay, you can also write on, as he was able to see shrewdness. Shrewdness means cleverness. As he was also able to see shrewdness on his face, and he was proved right. And he was proved right with the passage of time. Clear now? Next, what made people believe General Blood and Thunder was their man? What made people believe that General Blood and Thunder was their man? Why? Because again, he has achieved a great position. He has also earned name and fame, right? So what you will write down? People believe that General Blood and Thunder was their man, as he has also left the valley as a young boy and fought many wars as a soldier. And when he has grown up, he has achieved the higher position or higher rank of a commander. Okay, he has achieved a higher rank of a commander. And when he thought of returning the valley, people again thought that this general, he always looked like great stone face. Okay, what he thought, that this also looked like great stone face. So the last question is, Ernest compares the man face with the stone face. What did he conclude?
He could not find any likenesses in the blood and thunder.
With the great stone. Find any likeness or resemblance between the great stone face and the general, or and the commander. Okay, So that's all for today. Right? You have to write down these question answers in your paired notebooks. In the next class, we will conclude with the back exercise of this chapter. Now, students, if you have any doubt, you can ask me to clear your doubts.